Well, welcome. It's been a while, but there's nothing wrong with that. Um, I just want to go through some things that I've been thinking about lately, and hopefully we can find some information, to help us out. First up, I'm gonna look at Bridge Guy video. So let me do this. And we'll go to this. So, I try to be scientific, and the scientific method includes that I have to be able to do something where others can replicate it clearly. So, if when people alter video or photographs or make changes, I would recommend it's best to show your work so that others can replicate it and do the same thing, right? That's what we were taught in school. Um, and I'm not going to be altering anything, but here we have the FBI's website. I haven't looked at this in a while. Thought maybe you guys would like to take a look at it. I don't think it's changed in a long time. So Bridge Guy has his own page. There's one sketch of him. You can download the poster. Gives a brief description. And it's brief. The height, weight, none of that's on here. Let's see, is it on here? Now, what that means, I have no clue. Yeah, it's exactly what the FBI website shows. And then there's a page for Abigail Williams. And it's the same thing, but it gives Abby's statistics, but nothing more than the photo appears to depict a white male wearing blue jeans, a blue coat jacket, and a hoodie. And that they believe that person in the image is a suspect being involved in their murders. And the same thing for Liberty. On the ISP website, pretty much the same. But you can download the video, and that's what I want to do. So these are different file types for different parts of the world and or different codecs. Okay, and we're going to download the MP4 because that's what works best for me. Let me see. Download. And then let's open with VLC, which is just a pretty classic. And let's play, pause. It is fast. I have a point to all of this, I promise. Let me let me repeat it. Okay, we're all familiar with this. We've all seen it. There's one point in it that fascinates me. Let me see if I can get to it. Now, do I think this is Ron Logan? Maybe. Do I think this is a Klein? Maybe. Do I think this is somebody not identified? Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of evidence points to a lot of things. In right here, now look, pareidolia, I get that. There's people that see puppies in here and ninja swords and all kinds of stuff. But like, there's this specific spot. It looks like he's wearing glasses, and I think there are definitely other creators who have pointed that out. Let me see if I can. Let me try opening this way. And then let me know, there's a debate raging right now about all of this. And just because of the affidavits that have come out, the interviews that have come out, all of those things are 5.5 years old. So in 5.5 years, the interviews, all this stuff. Yeah, here's what I won't let me. Well, let's grab this. I'm not altering anything. Just taking this. I'm going to save that to my desktop. We'll open it up. We'll zoom. Yeah, see, when you zoom in, it definitely doesn't clear anything. But to me, it kind of looks like maybe glasses. Or it's shadow from the brim of the hat. Or who knows? I don't know. Something I haven't really looked at this in a long time, and I wanted to take a short look. All right. I don't know. All right. So there's been a lot of actually, let's go to something I see come up is, can the police lie in a search warrant affidavit? And a simple Google search kind of seems like it's a problem where they do lie sometimes. And so the answer is kind of muddy. They're not supposed to lie in a search warrant, but seems like they do. So what can we trust, they can definitely lie in criminal interviews. So, all right, let's dig back. Bitterbeatpoet was his name in real life was Doug Rice, and I didn't know him when he was around. I hadn't really dug into this case at all before he passed away. And but he was a local, and he took his time to speak as close to sources as possible, to witnesses, all kinds of things. And so I've been looking at what he's been saying, and a lot of it's fascinating. And maybe we can glean some of this and discuss it. Digital. Let me put this up. Let me take a minute to just chat with you guys. I don't. I don't think. I don't know. It's not that I think they're lying in the affidavit. It's that I was curious if they can, because I hear people say things like that. Um, and I don't, you know, I don't think they are, but they could. I don't know. We don't know. And that's the truth. There's no hard uh, yes or no. Like, we have very, very few facts about this case. And so it's really impossible for us. The police give contradictory statements constantly. Okay. The ISP released official statement, an official document released by their press. I get emailed all these things where the first sketch said was that person was identified and ruled out. Like, but as you'll see, hide this if it'll let me. Oops. Yeah, I have no. And you know what? People are calling and asking questions, and they can't give official answers. And in my opinion, seems like maybe Kagan rolled on a family member, and they're searching for evidence, or it's training, or it's unrelated to the case. We aren't going to know until we actually know. It's all speculation at this point. It is 4 weeks is a long time. Hey, TCR, good to see you, buddy. 4 weeks is a long time to be searching that river with so many resources. I've been keeping an eye on all those pictures and whatnot that good people are out there taking. And that's a lot of resources they're using. So, okay, this is 3 years ago. I don't know if we can, we'll just go through it. Yeah, so this is interesting. Something that Doug often wrote about is how from he's talking about the Sanders, which is the K Weber's house. The house is called the Sanders or whatever. It's K Weber's house. And this idea that you could see the exact crime scene from their house, from inside their house, out a window, you could look out and you could see down directly to the crime scene. Kay was she for winter she leaves, and then her son would go and check on the house every day and hang out or whatever he did. I don't know, but he didn't live there at the time. But he would go and look at just look after the property, and so it's bold for that location in a lot of ways. When I've been out there and you go down the side off the end of the south end of the bridge, the opposite direction is actually much more secluded towards the shoe tree than it is going across toward the creek and then across the creek even. It's much more secluded the opposite direction. So that to me makes it a little stranger that they would cross the water and go across there. But, as many have talked about, maybe one of the girls ran that direction to try to get away. But again, if you were out there, depending on how well they knew the area, there's houses on the south. And I don't know why they wouldn't run towards people. So it's one of the toughest questions in the case. Why did they cross the creek and onto Ron Logan's property? Ken Maines said he thought it was a failed abduction. Okay. And let's pretend we think it could be Ron Logan. So then it would make sense. Uh, Ron Logan's trying to abduct them to his house, or somebody that knows Ron Logan is trying to abduct him toward his house. And then it makes sense why to cross the water there, why they're on. Maybe something happened out there. Um, but yeah, it's interesting, the chosen spot. You know, I'm we have too little data. Let's keep going. Um, so the reenactment video out there. Kay Weber was quite upset. She didn't want him out there. They were trespassing, and she yelled at them. So there's a lot of conversation about that in Doug Rice's comments. The most interesting and what I want to get to is when they changed direction. So here's something interesting. I've spoken many times with Derek German. Impressions. Let's just go back. Libby's dad. He told me he received a call from Libby that afternoon at 1:38 asking him to pick them up on his return from Frankfurt. He said he guessed they were in the car on their way to the bridge, and he also said it's only a 7-minute drive from their house. So we know they were there at least by 1:45. What would be your guess as to how long BG had already been there? Yeah, this says don't use anything but the helicopter flyover vid on the 14th to gauge water depth. It can vary greatly. It has already completely flooded the spot where the girls were found after a heavy rain last June, and that day it was thigh to waist high in places, and the bottom is also very in spots as well. Yes, it is. Most likely, all three got very wet crossing that afternoon, and it was very cold. The water would have been very cold. Um, he has some interesting comments when he starts talking about the witnesses. Here he is 3 years ago saying, I seriously doubt they were catfished, but I would not discount he was stalking an account of Libby's. Interesting. The homeowner told me FBI and ISP returned on several different occasions, up to 6 months later, searching for something on her property. Wonder what? Let's confirm what he's. Yeah, he's talking about the Sanders of the Kay Weber's house. So, hmm. He had actual permission to go out there. Uh, they never told her what they were searching for on her property. All the times they came back. Yeah, he's discussing the times. So the time on the photo is when they were opened and viewed, and a screenshot was taken. So the time that the photo was actually taken and the time it was uploaded to Snapchat and then viewed by someone on Snapchat are different. Could have been more minutes than we realize, right? And Bitterbeatpoet, you can see here, if you want to go back and look and read through all this after this, it's easy to find on Reddit, just a simple search. Let's keep on. He found another witness who won't speak with him. And also, both people who did talk to me were accompanied by other folks that literally paid almost no attention to him whatsoever and can offer nothing. Okay. The earlier witness gave them a detailed description shortly after the girls were found without ever seeing Libby's pics. The later witness saw Libby's first pic that was released on the 15th and knew he had seen him as well. Interesting. He had a lot of one-on-one convo. See, he had a one-on-one conversations with Cheyenne early on. She was in his Facebook group. She and her friend did not see BG, and she had no involvement in this crime. The couple she was friends with, however, did see BG. The man paid attention, but his girlfriend hardly noticed BG, however. I think that's DP he's talking about. I don't know. I could be wrong. He described him as short. He said he was wearing a hat similar to what a house painter wears and had a scarf over the lower part of his face. As soon as he saw the first pic Ellie released on the 15th, that's February 15th, 2017, he went to the police. He knew he had seen him, is what he said. So it seems like there's several witnesses. And it fascinates me. I wish one of them wanted to like do a YouTube channel and then talk about like, no, that's not the guy I saw, or that kind of looks like the guy I saw, or something like that. That would fascinate me to no end. I don't know if they have gag orders. I don't know if that's a thing and not at all, but and then of course they're probably scared for their lives also because this kind of killer is free or whatever, right? I think the witness and girlfriend arrived around 3. They parked at the Mears lot, the same one where the girls were dropped off. See, back then you could park there at that gate across from the Mears farm. Now you can't. There's nowhere to really park anymore. He said they walked slowly and were heading up to the 501 trail towards the High Bridge when Bridge Guy passed them, headed back towards the Freedom Bridge. He did say the hat was exposed, so no hoodie, and he noticed nothing as far as blood, etc. Not that he was paying that much attention. As I say, his girlfriend didn't even notice him. They were supposedly having an argument, which may account for some of this. I am guessing based on their arrival time, they saw him around 3:10, maybe give or take 5 minutes. Which would put it after the murders. So that's weird to not notice wet clothes or blood. How does Bridge Guy get away with that? I don't know. And realize this is also the same couple that Flannel Shirt Guy told Derek he saw down at the bridge. I think the reason Flannel Shirt Guy did not see Cheyenne and friend was due to the fact they probably were already at the south end by that time, and Derek clarified who Flannel Shirt Guy is as well. It was not Dan McCain, it was Dave McCain. Cheyenne was with a friend, not with that couple. That was a chance meeting with the couple. The guy saw the first pic on the 15th, knew he had seen him. He has zero doubt he saw the guy in Libby's vid. He wasn't all that satisfied with the first sketch, however. Wrong hat for a start. The younger guy was seen supposedly at the south end. The recent sketch has zero bearing on this crime. The guy she saw was in his 40s anyway, is how she described him. And when the new sketch was released in April, she said that was not who she saw. Like I say, she saw him close to the Freedom Bridge as she was leaving with friends that afternoon. She sent her mom a pic shortly before she saw him. that was taken at 1:26. So shortly after that, he was at Freedom Bridge heading towards High Bridge, which means he likely arrived only a few minutes before the girls. So strange. I there I don't remember who it was, but there was an article where someone said that the first sketch was a convicted uh, uh, child molester or something like that, and that uh, but they ruled him out as the killer or something. Um, there's so many coincidences in this case. I can under It's like Tobe said there's a twist, which I interpret as there's too many weird things to where they can't necessarily. I don't know, is this guy 40? Ron Logan was 77. I don't know if people can uh, uh, mistake a 77-year-old for 40 or whatever. Um, but there was the people who live near. There's a gate that closes off the Weber's driveway at the very, and it's a really long driveway that private drive that leads up to your property. But there's houses down by that gate. And Julie Melvin the other day was talking about um, uh, a darker complexion person or dark. Bitterbeatpoet actually talks about that. I hope we get to that here. Um, and so it's like maybe there were a few creeps there that day, related, dressed similar, because again, you see Ron Logan basically dressed very similar to Bridge Guy the next day on the news. I'm not saying that makes him the killer. I'm just saying like people dress like that. That's something we do have to consider in all of this. So a few creep, but the thing is like you have that white thing, right? That was probably the thing he pulled up over his face or whatever. He's a bit overdressed. I would almost say it's gonna be like you would notice somebody overdressed for a nice day with a mask over their face in 2017. Nowadays, whatever, the plague. But man, I don't know. Let's keep going. Yeah, he's talking about. It appears, based on what Derek, Kelsey, and the young witness have told us, that the girls and BG arrived fairly close together. That eliminates some things, I guess. Did he see them dropped off? He certainly considered that, but not if he got there first. Did he see something Libby posted and hustled over there? That is also possible. Was it just the timing was totally random? Yeah, see, even Doug was perplexed by all this stuff. There was much more traffic there that day than usual for a variety of reasons, but no one has ever come forward that saw him a few hours before, even an hour before. Everything he found indicates the bridge guy was not there hanging around for hours before, that the girls and BG arrived very close together. And he has spoken to someone that was there earlier. They did not see him, which doesn't prove he wasn't there, but it makes it likely. Hmm. She said a bill shorter than a baseball cap, and it was covered by his hoodie. He thinks he was an experienced criminal and most likely a serial rapist. Right. No hoodie after the murders. Again, much of that has happened very quickly. Whoops. And had no meaning till the next day. Right. The earlier witness was 16 at the time. Yeah. The 16-year-old did not know Cheyenne. The guy in his 20s was with his girlfriend, and she knew Cheyenne. They were both from Monticello. And there is more from the 16-year-old. I conversed with her and her mom for several months. The older The other older male witness only once and will not speak now. We can call him DP. SD. That is what I've been told, and all of this was told to me firsthand. I can tell you some folks were reluctant to speak, but when requested, I have not shared certain details or identities. My group, the only reason I've been given this information, there's plenty more over the nearly 3 years I've had different theories, but at this point in time, I do believe he certainly from the near area and had been there at least several times before and was an experienced serial rapist, which was his motive. And I rather doubt he intended to murder the girls that day, but he lost control at some point and then lost his temper. I believe he was a very impulsive individual, but also intelligent, which may account for why he has gotten away with this. I also think the video Libby shot should not be relied on for much more than his general description, mostly just the clothing. I think the face is dangerous to rely on. We took a video with the same phone as Libby's from 60 feet away, and it was nowhere near as good as this. But the young girl witness has shared much with me, and I think I have a reasonable idea of what he looks like in the face because her mom and I showed her other pics, and she picked out one in particular that she thought resembled who she saw. Man, I wonder who that was. While talking with Derek, I assumed it was Dan. When I mentioned his name, Derek said he did not know Dan. I sent him a few pics. He said, no, that was not who he spoke with. I showed him a few pics of Dave, and he said that appeared to be who he spoke with. So here he refutes some things that Greeno were saying. He says she wasn't out walking her dog. A neighbor of Kay's at the south end, and Greeno has never spoken with her, nor have I. She won't talk, but Kay shared what she told her. There you go. BG is not a young dude, plain and simple. And if Ellie is trying to make a case against Garrett Kurtz, I wish them luck. They will need it. He's not trying to solve the case. He's just trying to share info he's gathered. That's true. And they do have trail cams. They used to have them before the crime, but just shortly before, due to vandalism, they removed the one at the south end of the bridge. But they have trail cams, multiple. But one of those cams was vandalized and removed. The one at the south end of the bridge. So that would have been awesome to have for sure. I hope I'm not boring you guys to death. This stuff's fascinating to me. The scarf is an important takeaway. Both witnesses I've spoken to mention it. So just how good of a look either got of him, that should be taken into consideration. With that said, the young lady, when shown a pic of a convicted sex offender, Jay Duvall, said that his pic resembled who she saw, and she is not accusing him, just saying there's a resemblance. We should look that up one of these times. Interesting. I do believe if LA does make an arrest, not only will be GB 40s to 50s in short, but will resemble JD. And I just asked my friend at the south end about what her neighbor saw that day. I asked her where she saw him. I knew she wasn't out walking her dog, so here, both from home, went outside and he departs. She gets in the vehicle and he is returning, but hightails when vehicle was coming toward him. Vehicle passes him and he is leaving and not seen again. He's saying the recent sketch is meaningless unless they're trying to make the case for Garrett Kurtz simply because there is resemblance between him and the sketch. And also remember this, unless catfished, BG would have zero knowledge they would walk across the bridge. She chased him off with her vehicle. He likely never got to the bridge. This woman lives on 625 close to Abby's house in Kay's driveway. 625 ends at Kay's private driveway, the only easy way to access the south end of the bridge from there. I don't get your question. The neighbor saw him from the house. She went out and he took off. She got in the car and started following him, and then he took off for good. Yeah. Kay also said that GPS sometimes sends you to the Monon High Bridge by 625 and her driveway, and that this has also been a very big problem as well. Interesting. Yeah, she has a lot of problems with trespassers. Yeah. And the GPS sends people up that way sometimes as well. Ellie is regularly given up misleading information for one reason or another. Since the first description, they are trying to act like no scarf was involved. I know otherwise. And where is any evidence of a hat, hoodie, or scarf on the new sketch? I think the fact family and the general public are so willing to just accept whatever they are told by Ellie is very troubling. I will leave it at that. Oh no. I'm so sorry. This whole time. I'm reading off of this. Thanks for listening and sticking around. I don't have moderators. I'm okay with it. You know, people can come in and say disturbing things or whatever, get themselves into trouble. If they want to act like children, they can act like children. I would recommend just ignoring them. Because they're not worth your time. Let's get back to it. This is what I've been reading this whole time. Going through on Reddit, I just searched Bitterbeatpoet. I clicked on his name, and then I went all the way back through his messages. Here he is talking about, were they already running before the creek? Did he slip across the creek and they started running? Did the girls and BG all fall down crossing? He doesn't know and will never know. I believe at some point after the death, he lost control, or down the hill, he lost control. I don't know when. I sure don't know where they crossed. And the only gauge of depth of the creek that day is the flyover video from the 14th. I'm sure of this. He got wet enough he was not able to sexually perform. Canoeing, I fell into a similar creek in March once. I know what it's like. Oh, gosh. Okay. The Friday before was the same high of 43, and school was out. 43 and sunny, however, in northern Indiana in the middle of February is very unusual, and would bring people out. But over that previous weekend, it was 50 and 60 for highs. On that Saturday, Libby went geocaching to 4 different locations with Kelsey and a friend. Again, I assume due to the unusually warm February weather. So there were quite a few people there that afternoon, not 30 to 40 until later, but between 1 and 1:30, about a dozen or so. And he knew most of the names. Interesting. And there are several possibilities, but according to what the 16-year-old girl, which is a witness he was talking about earlier, it appears he arrived shortly before them. And he seemed overdressed to her, and that's why the 16-year-old noticed him and, paid attention. As they crossed paths, she said hi, and he gave her a look that scared her. He asked her if she noticed a vehicle parked there. She said no, but she also said she wasn't paying attention for one. She has no idea where he may have come from, however, but she lives near downtown and was walking. She encountered him near where you enter the woods part of the trail. So there's like there's like the part where the Monon train stone carving is, and then you go right off of that, and then there's like the woods, and that's where the trail kind of starts. So that's where the 16-year-old witness encountered him. She was interviewed over and over, and her story has never changed. She's never spoken to much of anyone except for law enforcement. It was really traumatic for her, so she stopped talking about it. She was the basis for the first sketch released. And he's saying he does believe they still have a few more sketches as well from the other 2 people that I know that also saw him. So Doug knows 3 people that saw him, and they sounds like those witnesses. He scared the hell out of her just with the look he gave her as they passed each other. As soon as she got home, she told her mom, and when they heard the girls were missing, she was concerned he might be involved. The scarf turned into a scream mask rumor. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's valuable to go through these. I don't want to take too much time because I have another thing I want to really dig into here. But I think the biggest value of Doug Rice's information comes from his speaking with witnesses. Okay, one of the big questions we all have is how do you track? How are cell phones tracked? How does that all work? Does it use GPS? Does it use cellular? What is this? How many cell phone towers were there? Does it take 3 to triangulate? Of course it does. There were only 2 in Delphi, but there sure were a bunch more, and I can prove it, and we're going to go through all of that. Let's take a look. So, cell phone, and this is from nolo.com, legal encyclopedia. Okay, cell phone and smart device location. Where does it come from? Cell phone and wireless service providers and tech companies like Google store certain historical and real time location data gleaned from cell phone connections with cell towers, GPS, satellite tracking, and smart device applications and operating systems. Law enforcement can request this data with a warrant. Okay. And here's examples of the data that it includes: historical CSLI, which is cell site location information. A typical cell phone produces a timestamp record every time it connects to a cell site. This record is referred to as a cell site location information. With CSLI, police can get a really good idea of where someone's phone has been, allowing them to piece together past events. For instance, connecting the dots as to a suspect's location at the scene of a crime. Real-time CSLI. To obtain real-time data, a service provider can either contemporaneously monitor a phone's CSLI connections or ping a user's cell phone and force it to reveal its location. This real-time data can provide police with information on a suspect's current whereabouts. Well, their phone, technically. GPS movements. A phone or car's GPS system tracks its movements using satellite signals. This information might be stored on the phone or vehicle itself or transmitted to a repository. It can also be relayed to police in real time. Tower dumps, reverse location search. Instead of providing CSLI records on a certain phone number, a tower dump refers to a request for all the CSLI data connected to certain cell towers at a specific time. So every and any phone that connected during that time, law enforcement can use the data to work backward in identifying or tracking a suspect. Geofence, a reverse location search. A geofence refers to a search of a location history database to identify all users whose devices were in a certain location at a certain time. This data is often available through location tracking applications. Police use the information to increasingly narrow their search parameters, the geofence, and try to pinpoint devices that might be connected to the crime. Again, working backward to identify a suspect, but from a database of user movements that far exceeds a tower dump. Do they need a warrant? Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of options and ways to see if someone's phone has been near a crime scene. Let's keep looking. Criminal investigations use Google tracking of cell phones. Yeah, we all knew that. Apple does it too, I'm sure. Tracking phones, Google is a dragnet for the police. Of course it is. So if you have Google Maps on your phone, it can show, you can go in and you can see every location you have been in the last, I don't know how long it is. I think it's a couple weeks. It'll show you literally how much time you spent at every location you have been. Unless you've shut that off, but it's on by default. So obviously that's very useful for people or for investigations. How cell phone tracking is increasingly being used to solve crimes. Okay. Our cell phone, whether we are actively using them or not, our cell phones are constantly pinging nearby cell towers, emitting a signal, then receiving one back. Based on the strength of the emitted signal and the time it takes to reach the cell tower, the location of the phone can be determined. Okay. So you may have noticed that the antennas on a cell tower are always arranged in the shape of a triangle. Each antenna array covers a 120-degree pie-shaped slice of the surrounding area, as shown in the diagram below. By convention, the three sectors are designated alpha, beta, and gamma. Makes sense? The diagram below shows how, by measuring a cell phone signal strength and the time it takes for a round trip signal to be sent and received, the approximate location of the cell phone can be determined. In the diagram, each concentric circle represents 2 miles. So a single cell tower can determine that a phone is between 8 and 10 miles away and within its alpha sector. When a cell phone is in contact with a second cell tower, the ability to determine its location is improved. As shown in the diagram below, we see that the signal from the cell phone is coming from within the blue tower's alpha sector and from a distance of 6 to 8 miles away. Data from the second or orange tower shows the signal is coming from its gamma sector at a distance of 8 to 12 miles. So that overlap, even with 2 towers, they could get a fairly accurate representation of where a phone is. If the cell phone is in contact with a third tower, then its location can be pinpointed to an area of between 2 to 6 meters in size. The diagram below shows the signal is coming from the green tower's alpha sector and at a distance of between 10 and 12 miles. The FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team, they maintain a specialized unit, CAST for short, that provides analysis of cell phone records and presents that information to law enforcement. It's talking about Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, about their kids. Yeah, so how cell phone records were used in that case, that's interesting. How investigators use phone records and cellular data to solve crime. So here's how a smartphone works to deliver vital information. Now, I've heard that Ron had a flip phone, but there's still ways, it, even modern flip phones, even the cheap ones, have all this tracking stuff in them. So I guess, we've kind of proven the concept of words, triangulation, accuracy, the several different ways that they can track a phone. The CSLI, historical cell site location information, geofence warrants. Yeah, this is going over the same kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and get to a cell phone can reach a tower up to 45 miles away. Okay. That's in good conditions. Okay. So let's be a bit conservative and say 20 miles. So let me clear this out a bit. This is Delphi. Over here on the right side, on the east side of Delphi, is where the Monon High Bridge is. And we're talking, if we zoom out a little bit, we're hitting about 20 miles as the bird flies, right? Because digital signals don't follow highways. So this tool is People install an app on their phone and then they map out the cell phones across the United States. But the good part about this is that I can filter I can go back between 2017 and 2020. That gives us a little bit better accuracy as far as towers that were available back then. I cannot go back. Oh, here. Actually, yes, I can. I didn't think I could. So let's go. Let's go April 30th. So in that 3-month time span, okay, we've filtered. And we can look at here in the United States, these were the available providers. I'm pretty sure they had AT&T. And then the network, 3G. So let's zoom out a little bit just to see. So up here there was a AT&T 3G tower. 4G, 5G, and of course there wouldn't have been. So let's see T-Mobile. See, carriers share towers. Like, if your carrier doesn't have a cellular transmitter receiver on a tower, it will piggyback off of another carrier. But we also have to understand that this particular mapping is users who had the app and drove across the United States. But I wanted to show this one because it has that time function. And here's the page on explaining how, if you wanted to map out the cell towers of the United States, here's how you do it with the app and blah, blah, blah. So here's another site that shows this is a map. And these are based off the FCC antenna registration data, but this is like current. So these are all the cell phone towers in and around Delphi, and there's a ton of them. How many were there back in 2017? Probably most of them. And then this is, again, a United States cell tower map. And it's pulled from the FCC. I just wanted to show multiple ones. There's one here, one here, one here. You know, depending on how big you want to get, could reach Battleground, could reach Americus, maybe even Logan Sport and Monticello. So there's plenty of towers out there, is the point of this exercise. There weren't just two. They could absolutely triangulate. And as we saw back here in some of this information, they don't even necessarily have to triangulate. I feel comfortable, with presenting that data like that. There's also GPS. I don't know if a flip phone. I'm sure flip phones have GPS. I haven't owned a flip phone in a long time. It'd be interesting, people that had flip phones in 2017 or whatever. Actually, I remember my flip phone from like the early 2000s had GPS. It had I had like the earliest version of cell phone internet. You could visit websites and stuff, and it was all like black and white text. And a lot of this has been available a very long time. So I guess why I'm saying this and why I want to know this is like, the Ron Logan stuff, uh, how did they know he was in the vicinity of the bodies for a couple of hours isn't really the technology is there. It's not there's many towers all the way around the area. They can get very accurate. Um, can they lie or stretch the truth in an affidavit? Yeah, but they're not supposed to. So I don't know. Um, do I think a 77-year-old dude could have done all that? I don't know. There's some farmers, people who work their land every day, people who work outside and work on their farm and roof their house. And there's I have a friend who had a guy come over and help him with his fence. And the guy, my friend is my age and 40s and early 40s, and this guy had 25 years of age on him and basically broke him. So somebody even in their 60s, um, sometimes those old guys can outwork even the young guys. So I don't think we can discount Ron Logan. I don't think we can discount the Kleins, and I don't think we can discount someone we have no clue who it is. So I don't know. And I hate saying that every time I do a live. I don't know. We don't know. And neither do the police. Let me switch here. But I sure hope we find out soon. And I hope the police know, actually. And I hope this is all over as soon as possible. Um, I've had some friends dealing with Carroll County recently, and it's they're not real good at crimes. Uh, sorry, they just aren't. So let me say hi to everybody. Let me pull this down here. Take a look. Ooh, busy chat. Good. Hey, Lake. Good to see you. Hi, Lynette. Always a pleasure. William, welcome. Yes, justice for Abby and Libby and their families. Hey, Fig. Good to see you. Welcome. Puppy with a ninja sword for sure. Yep, that's what I see. I'm just kidding. Yeah, okay. Great point, Lake. I finished reading that book, How to Solve a Cold. Okay, and the crux of the book, the main point of the book, is that crimes, especially cold cases, are only solved when law enforcement puts out enough information to where the public can use it. So Indiana is incredibly bad at solving murders. And it's simply because they refuse to release enough information to where the public can help them. Okay. So that's my plea. You can't expect, you need the public. You need the power of people. Okay. Many of us on here creators, people in the chat, you know, we pour over this information. Put us to work with good information. Give us that opportunity. Don't release your full hand. Don't show your full hand, but show enough to where we can actually do something or help. Because obviously it's not reaching the right one person who knows or whatever, or one last bit of information, and they won't even know that information until they see it or whatever. God, so frustrating. I'm not a cop basher, but Indiana, get your shit together. Come on. Let's raise, just come on, get your shit together. Stop being bastards. Get your shit, put it in a box, put it all together, and get your shit together. Okay? You don't have to be one of the lowest states for solved crimes in the nation. You know, let people help you. And if that takes money or taxes or whatever the hell it takes, training, just do it. Releasing more information. Anyway, thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. May today be the day.